Hello, and welcome to the second part of this Q&A for December. Hopefully by January this problem is solved in some way. Otherwise I'll, just to be safe, will make part 1 and part 2 of the next video that I'm making as well, to make sure that I can share it this month instead of waiting another week, because every time that I don't succeed in uploading a video at the library is 20 kilometers of me on a bike or walking, which is fine when it's one time, but today it's my third time doing it, and that's less enjoyable. I'd rather have a walk in nature for the sake of experiencing nature than going to the city, which I think is understandable. Anyway, with that said, I hope you enjoy this month's Q&A, and as always, if you have questions, let me know. I'm more than happy to make more videos, and I have plenty more different concepts coming. Take care. So that's what I can say for the moment about how that experience or those experiences, how they affect me and how it translates into sound or music. And of course I could go more in depth about the process and even into different songs or albums, and I will do that when I make the features of some of them. But of course, as I always say and said previously, if you have specific questions, let me know, and I will do my best to cover it in the next video that I'm making about either the subject or just a compilation of comments and questions like this. So that leads to the follow-up question about the same subject, which is, I think, self-explanatory at this point. What kind of benefits that I get from this, and for me it's not really, I wouldn't define it as a benefit by itself or as it is, but of course it is to me because I can do something with it. But it's more than anything a necessity. And that is that the patterns and movements that I feel in my hands when I either play guitar or piano or paint, they are all connected to my walks in the forest, which are meditative. But then of course I do meditate at home in different ways. Where I close my eyes and focus more intently to really fine-tune what I have gathered through these wanderings and craft something out of that. And over the course of these wanderings and meditations, I'm also practicing and teaching myself further patience, which in turn grows this vision and the ritual and the ceremonies that becomes these paintings and albums that I manifest through different entities. And for me, personally, I can't speak for people that work with me because I'm not easy to work with some of the times. But as I said, it's a necessity for me, and it's teaching me to be not only a better artist, but a better person. So that's the overall and greatest benefit that I can possibly get from this, I think. And that's not even mentioning the majority of closer friendships that I have gotten over the years are all connected to this as well, which I also wouldn't have, because in some ways it can be a problem, but I also feel perfectly fine without seeing people. I have weeks when I can count on one hand how many people I see. And I'm aware that that's beneficial for the kind of art that I'm creating, but personally I know that it's not. At least not in the kind of world that we are currently a part of. But that's another story, a completely different series of videos by itself, because it's a hard subject to break down and get into, because it has many layers, while at the same time it doesn't. But if I would just start rambling about it, that would be all it was, and it would be harder for me to, after a while, determine what sets apart part 1 from 2, from 3, if I'm making videos about it. And that's why I'm avoiding making this longer format thing than I already do. To me, these videos are short format, no matter what you may think. But I think that should speak for itself. Because the kind of art or music or sounds that I manifest and am associated with, I couldn't see how it would be anything else, because I don't share your time perspective. That's not of interest for me, and I'm not interested in participating in it. That world is yours, not mine. To me, anything else is nothing but torture. And I'd rather be poor and alone than having to compromise my sacred vision. And that's why I'm usually alone. Because it's hard to combine that with anything else. But I am learning, and to some extent, at least from my perspective, I am compromising. Even if others may feel completely different. Because it's hard to agree on everything, and I never expect that to be the case. And by knowing or feeling that, I am enabled to do what I do the way that I do. And that in turn connects to the topic of medication, which I've had my share of experiences with over the years. But when I was younger and had my investigations with the neuropsychiatric departments and things like that to get my diagnosis and other things, I had back then very limited experiences with their definition of medication, but I had friends that had more extensive experiences with it, and as time progressed, their experience was progressing at a rate very different than mine, and I was able to share many experiences with them that I otherwise wouldn't have had, and learning what kind of medications that works for me, positive or negative, and that was completely different than what the hospitals and psychiatric departments were willing to extend to me. While they threw it at other people, they actively refused. And I'm not interested in playing their game. So after trying to do it their way or compromising with them, I just hit a point where it was counterproductive and a waste of my time and energy, more than not. So I silently discontinued that practice because there is nothing that I can gain from their idea of medication or therapy that I can't do by myself. And that, especially that nature doesn't already supply me with. And because I was denied what the others wasn't or were not, it put a big emphasis and focus on this kind of self-medication, meditative, holistic approach that I've connected with in nature over the years, that I most likely wouldn't have had if they would have pumped me full of Valium and Xanax instead. Because then I would have maybe been content at staying at some job that I didn't feel fulfilled at, or even going further down that hole. And by doing so, just being another step on their ladder. But from my perspective, it doesn't really matter how far up or down I am on that ladder, because no matter what, I would still be being stepped on. Think about that for a second. But of course, I think it's known for those who know at least Life Lover that you don't need a doctor to get your hands on medication. And you can medicate yourself with anything. And of course, hypothermia has over the years become connected to other methods of self-medication too. And that's something that I'm going to discuss more in depth in the video series that I'm currently working on about intoxication and psychedelia, which I know are two completely different things. They can be connected and usually are. But yes, that's another very long story that I look forward to sharing. But as a closing note on the medication, that's something that I've from my experiences with friends abusing it, and I've had my share of experiences that have been beyond what most people would define as a healthy approach. But that's my experience, and it was my approach. And I apologize to anyone if they're getting disturbed by ambient sounds in this video. I'm currently enjoying the first days of winter, and I'm in the middle of a fast for a very important yearly ritual that I may talk about in another video, or perhaps document to some extent. We'll see what happens. It's a self-guiding ceremony to some extent. But yeah, I can't turn myself off that easily. It is what it is, but hopefully the majority of this content makes up for it. Either way, I'm fine. Hopefully it's not too distracting or disgusting or anything else. This is my first time using this setup of 2 different microphones with this camera, so I'm not sure how much it's picking up. But hopefully it will be an improvement to more improvement than not. And sorry for that ramble. Happens sometimes. But it creates a bridge to the ending of the video, so I think it makes more sense than not, hopefully. So let's close this December edition of answers to comments with something that connects all of these different topics that have been discussed in this video, which is the references or symbology in nature and how it connects to my music. I think if you have listened this far, it's been explained. And everything else that I do that goes beyond music is also connected to nature. My art is another form of reflection of nature from a different perspective, and it's connected a lot to motions and motion and emotion rather than sound. And when it comes to something like brewing a beer or cooking a dinner for someone, that to me is obviously very connected to nature and the different senses as well. And that's once again something that I can explain more in depth if you have further questions about it. But the topic is a bit too wide to give a good statement about it, because it's a very multifaceted, deep subject. Both brewing beer and cooking food are very important to me, and of course drinking beer and eating are things that I would never be without it. I could, but why would I? And that in turn, of course, is another video. It can all be chopped up into infinite parts. And I could either be focused and talk about it properly, or I could do like I am now and ramble, because I'm becoming self-conscious about different things right now, and that's not fun for anyone. So I'm going to end this video, and hopefully, as I said, it's the benefits hopefully outweighs anything else. And as always, I look forward to doing more videos like this, and any questions and comments are very welcome. There is more videos and in-depth discussions coming up, as well as new recordings and projects and meditations and rituals and ceremonies of different kinds that I look forward to sharing. And also maybe some more guests. Nothing is set in stone for the moment, but as always, many things are in progress. Thank you for watching. Take care.